Welcome everybody to something that's a little bit different from what we've done before. So, Steph and I have both spent quite a bit of time working in hospitals over the years, and seeing how common of a set piece in video games hospitals are, we thought it might be fun to start taking a look at them from the viewpoint of healthcare workers and let you guys know what we think of them. Now, we're aware that these are video game levels first, which prioritize good gameplay over accurate representations of hospitals. So the purpose of these videos isn't to make fun of developers for things they get wrong, but rather it's just a lighthearted take on how effective of a hospital would this actually be. What we're going to do is take a look at the overall layout and design of the hospital, its in-game location, and attention to detail, which is any minor design elements that are things that non-healthcare workers might not notice or appreciate. We're going to grade all of those categories, and at the end of the video, give the hospital a rating out of 5. If you enjoy this video, be sure to leave it a like, and let us know in the comments below which video game hospital you want us to have a look at next. For our first video, we figured we'd start with a game we spent a lot of time playing lately, so we're going to have a look at Verdansk Hospital in Call of Duty Warzone. We haven't even landed on the ground yet, and I can already see a very glaring logistics issue with this hospital. You see that bridge here? This is your major connector with downtown Verdansk, and it intersects with some train tracks, so emergency vehicles are going to have to deal with having to stop for trains all the time. This kind of seems like a bit of a logistics oversight.
Now that we've arrived on solid ground, the main parking lot leaves a bit to be desired in the size category, but it does appear to have free parking, which is appreciated by both patients and staff. Moving on to the hospital itself, we've got separate entrances here. One for the main area and one for emergency, which is standard for most hospitals. However, I want to point out something that may seem nitpicky, but now that we've noticed it, we can't unsee it. So we've got an ambulance parked in the pull-in area. Clearly, we're dropping patients off at that entrance, but why is the ambulance pull-in area at the main entrance and not over at Emerge? It seems kind of minor at first glance, but it's not just about the convenience. Ladies and gentlemen, when you've got to save a life, time is of the essence. Especially if bone is pierced through skin and you're bleeding out, etc. I think this blunder is one of the things that would drive you the most crazy if you were a paramedic who worked here, besides getting stuck behind a train.
Yeah, no, that would be brutal. So the main lobby of this hospital has a huge waiting area, which seems unnecessarily large considering it is at the very entrance of the hospital. Like, normally in hospitals, don't you think like people should be kind of directed to where they want to go rather than just chilling by the front door?
Yeah, hospitals don't really like having huge waiting rooms where they fill up and people just feel like they're waiting forever. Now this check-in desk, which directs people to nearby areas, is right at the main entrance, which is good design. You need wayfinding at a hospital because they get very large and very confusing. But I feel like without any actual indication of direction, you're just asking for poor reception staff to get hassled.
Yeah. So here's actually one of the more messed up things about this hospital. So I'm just going to freeze this here so you can see this sign. This sign says morgue. You know, the refrigerator where they keep the dead bodies, and it's just right here at arm's length from the gigantic waiting area. So just imagine being the surgeon carting down this body on a stretcher. Oh, we did our best. I'm sure you guys will do better though. Speaking of signs, we were able to, thanks to the magic of Google Translate, have a look at what these signs that are purely in Russian say. So this one says ward, and that's sort of strange because ward on its own is pretty non-descriptive.
That's like room or department.
Yeah, or bed. Yeah. A hospital this size would divide its wards into surgery, medical, maternity, etc. But now that we go inside of the ward, we can see that it's actually referring to the emergency ward, which we saw outside earlier.
Okay, speaking of emergency, we can't actually find any beds for patients, just these 2 operating rooms, which are maybe a little too visible for my taste. I know ORs sometimes have big windows so that medical students or other medical staff, not, your janitorial staff, which are very important for hospital operations, but
still critical care, essential workers.
Not vital to surgery in process. But anyway, these staff can view the procedures without interfering. But I think ideally you'd like to have more than one door separating them from the outside world, so Joe Schmo looking for a bathroom while he's waiting to be triaged and emerged doesn't just see someone getting their spleen taken out. There's also a room which is labeled dressing. Presumably, it's where surgical staff put on their PPE. However, once we look inside, it's actually just an office. The actual emerge triage area is really well designed though. You've got chairs, vending machines, a water cooler. These are all really nice touches, and I also like that they've got a distinct nursing station within the ward, separate from the check-in area, and there's a lot of detail here that literally nobody will ever notice because they're just running around trying to grab enough money to buy a loadout.
So I realized after I had already finished recording and editing that I made a mistranslation. This desk doesn't actually say pharmacy, it says registration. I'm gonna leave this segment in so you can enjoy a minute or so of me being wrong. Speaking of things that you might not notice, this pharmacy desk over here, taking a peek into the pharmacy itself, it's just a storage room. Like no pills, no drugs, whatever. Although it does look like the Soviets were respecting their equivalent they had of HIPMA, because look, they have themselves a nice little paper shredder here. And so this quote-unquote pharmacy backs on directly into the kitchen, which I'm sure violates some sort of code, but...
Also, cash is dirty and should never just be sitting in the kitchen, but there was a pile of cash right there.
Yeah, you notice I didn't pick it up. Yeah, so I actually... Probably the kitchen is like the one area I know absolutely nothing about in a hospital. So, I mean, I don't know, I'm sure it's fine. It's got fridges, stoves, and everything you would expect. But it backs into the cafeteria, which is huge. And like, I really like how much natural light this cafeteria gets, which is good because like it's generally cafeterias are the more sunny, like nicer, brighter areas because they're good for both staff and patient morale. But there is just no way that a hospital this size has the staff to necessitate a cafeteria this big. You know what though? I do like how just like the mix of vending machines and coffee machines that it has, like another little touch, like you just appreciate. You know, you're not always stocked 24/7. Sometimes the night shift needs a little nightcap.
Technology keeps advancing, but vending machines, they're a constant.
Mm-hmm.
So, a couple things we've noticed so far in general is that there's an obscene amount of doors that just open right onto the street.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure this is a game balance decision because otherwise a hospital would be like a stupidly easy place to camp because they're kind of only supposed to have a couple doors.
In really obvious places.
Yeah, but still, it is like, it makes no sense from a would you want to work here point of view.
Mm-hmm. All right, moving on up, let's take this maintenance stairwell to the second floor. It's a little out of place. Usually you'd see these kinds of stairwells not smack dab in the middle of each floor. Okay, you can't actually access the second floor, so let's keep going.
Yeah, so this third floor, for the most part, is actually like quite a bit more realistically designed than the first, because you got this large office area right away, which is kind of in the right place. Looks exactly like what you'd expect to see from an office hospital building.
Are those the kinds of trash cans, that silver trash can, like with the hole on the side that you actually throw things in and then like a little ashtray on top?
Yeah, man, you could smoke in hospitals. I'm assuming in like most...
Oh, never mind. This is when you could also smoke on planes.
Yeah. Which is kind of in the right place. There's also, like, all over the place, there's these cool posters, which I did run a lot of them through Google Translate, and they all are basically exactly what you would expect to see at a hospital. You know, posters encouraging people to be, like, health conscious or donate blood, and there's even recruitment ads for working at the hospital, and for me is like a cool touch that a lot of people are not going to notice, but they're there if you're looking for them, and I don't know, it's cool. We got another large waiting area up here, and, like, again, I have to ask what for. It's adjacent to this door labeled operating. Yeah, when I said the third floor is accurate for the most part, this is actually the big exception because having an OR up here makes absolutely no sense. When you have one in the same building 2 floors down, and also you have all these chairs that are just like lined up as if patients are gonna be waiting outside to be called in for the hip replacement, it doesn't really work that way.
The ICU itself seems pretty satisfactory, but it has this massive window that people can just peer into from this other waiting room. Now, I have been a patient in an ICU before, and there is stuff going on in there that you do not want the public to see. I'm talking dialysis, I'm talking bedpans. I don't understand what the deal is with this hospital and its determination to put patients on display like this.
Guess maybe like the Soviet Russia didn't have much of a zoo. Is it the next best thing? Yeah, and these stained bed sheets, while gross, are unfortunately an accurate depiction of what hospital conditions are often like. Hey guys, don't get sick, I wouldn't recommend it. And if we keep going down this hallway, we get to the first appearance of what are actually regular inpatient wards, and to be honest, I think these are pretty spot on recreations, because these rooms are actually separate from the public, they've got TVs, they're just a little bit depressing, but not too depressing, and there's actually a sharps bucket in the bathroom. They even have patient charts posted up outside each room, and if you look closely enough, these charts are, well, they're just a little strange. Like, they don't actually look like they're patient charts, they kind of look like a weird military evaluation. I don't really think anybody besides us has ever taken a close look at them, so I'll give them a pass, but they're just a little weird.
Let's jump out to take a look at this tower from the outside. For some unknown reason, it has a sign saying it's an emergency building, even though it's behind the hospital itself, and also connected to this back parking lot for staff vehicles, so it'd be pretty difficult for people to actually access it, not to mention we've already been to the emergency ward in the main building. And things just start to make less sense from here on out. The emergency lobby consists entirely of a nursing station, and not one, but 2 storage rooms, and an ICU with absolutely nothing preventing access to it.
And complete with a back door that opens directly onto the street. More like ICU helping yourself to some Quaaludes, am I right?
What's a Quaalude?
Never mind. Yeah, so that about does it for the hospital itself. Let's have a look at the surrounding area. Immediately next to it, we've got this huge warehouse, which seems like another logistical nightmare, what with the cargo trucks and ambulances having to share road access. It would be more understandable if this was a dedicated hospital warehouse that stored medical supplies, but when we take a look inside, the only identifiable product is ammonium nitrate, or fertilizer. In fact, this is actually the identical warehouse model to the one they use in the Verdansk port. And alright, let's move on to the... Wait, hold on a second. Alright, that takes care of that. Do these guys know we're doing important research here? Where was I?
So on the other side here, we've got these barracks-like buildings with a lot of beds inside. I wonder if these are some sort of rudimentary residences for hospital workers. It seems very low end, and I would hate to have a dozen roommates, but then again, I'm no historian, but Soviet Russia wasn't exactly known for its extravagance, especially for the working class.
And yeah, and outside of these, we got a bus stop. So yeah, bonus points for accessibility. Wait, what? Wait, are you serious? These guys again?
Armor up!
Alright, well that takes care of that. Hopefully you got the message now, but maybe that's a sign that we should probably wrap this one up. So, for our final verdict, we give Verdansk Hospital 2 out of 5. So, yeah, I think it just comes down to the fact that it is so horribly laid out, and none of the wards really make sense of their location except for maybe the inpatient wards on the 3rd floor. And it just has presents too much of a logistical nightmare getting in and out of the hospital itself.
I do like that it's not located right in the heart of downtown, because downtown can be pretty difficult to get in and out of, so that it has that going for it. But also the fact that it's kind of really far from any other building. Well, I guess there's that gas station nearby, but if you did not pack your lunch to work, it's a long way to get food.
They got the burger shack outside.
How many times a week do you want to eat burgers?
I just honestly think things like the ICU with a door that opens to the outdoors
The privacy issue is huge. And in a town, town community this small, like the chances of you walking down that operating hallway and looking over into the window and seeing someone you know, it's like almost absolutely 100.
Mm-hmm. But it does look like there's only one hospital in town, so all your patients are coming here. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, if you like what you're seeing, leave us a like, and let us know in the comments below which hospital you want us to have a look at next. There's lots of video game hospitals out there, and we're ready, willing, and able to take a dunk on every single one of them.